What's up, everybody? It's your boy Couch Mills here, and in this video we're going to be breaking down 7 ultimates that you use absolutely wrong in Overwatch 2. You see, proper ultimate use is one of the most impactful ways to carry your games, and if you can't climb, ultimates could be the #1 cause, so let's get right in. Now, the first ultimate we got to talk about is Tracer's Pulse Bomb. Now, Pulse Bomb is really damn powerful, allowing you to get a pick on a target and then use the rest of your kit and your abilities to go on another target. And because it generates so fast, you could have it every single fight. So that means that you need to get every single bit of value from this ability. But what's the problem? Well, Pulse is really hard to use. So the first thing that I want you to do is practice with Pulse Bomb. And I'm not saying practice in a game, and I'm not saying practice in a deathmatch. I want you to go into a practice room, a custom game, where you enable unlimited Pulse Bombs and practice up against bots over and over and over again. Get the feel for the Pulse Bomb. In one training session of 30 minutes, you could throw a bazillion goddamn Pulse Bombs and really get a feel for it very, very quickly. The next thing that you're going to need to learn how to do on Tracer is the 90 and 180 degree stick. It is very, very easy to pulse bomb someone when you're body to body with them. And oftentimes you want to get body to body on someone, but you don't necessarily want to be right in front of them where they're looking at you. So you can practice the 180 and 90 degree blink sticks, and then also the blink in, stick, and then blink out. Getting comfortable with these repetitions in a controlled environment will allow you to be better at execution in a chaotic environment full of pressure and enemies that are moving sporadically. Now, I also want you to understand that there are different types of sticks, some of which are easier to hit, but have technically lower upside. Let me give you this example. A tank is easier to stick the majority of the time because they're slower and they're much bigger targets. However, there's no guarantee that every single stick will end up in a tank kill, and in worst case scenario, you'll get no value out of that. However, sticking a squishy is guaranteed value because that person is gonna die, and you're gonna be able to use that numbers advantage to win the fight out. However, we all know that sticking small damn targets is much more difficult. Well, I definitely think you can incorporate a Tracer playstyle that primarily goes for the easy, high conversion stickies. I think that as your individual skill and confidence with Pulse Bomb increases, you can go for riskier and riskier sticks, but always keep in mind that risk to reward ratio. And oftentimes, if you're just going to use the Pulse Bomb to combo or stick it on a tank, if you're in an even or slightly advantaged fight, that would have done enough to win the team fight. You don't have to go for the Hail Mary play to win a fight you're already winning, but you could throw a fight that you have an advantage in by getting too greedy. Next up, we got to talk about Kiriko and her rush. Now, this ultimate is so damn powerful, but it's not going to be used like the majority of ultimates in the game. Unlike a lot of them that want to be properly set up always with a combo or done in a very specific set of circumstances, Kiriko can be used in a number of situations to either turn the tempo of a team fight or use to stagger the enemy and wipe them out, especially when they are pushing up a little bit too aggressive. Kiriko Rush can let you really stomp them out and just completely snowball. Now, you do have to be careful about leaving the effective range of the rush. You don't have to leave this, even though it kind of eggs you on to go in a straight line. You don't have to go in a straight line. In fact, most of the time, you want to incorporate good movement inside the Kiriko Rush, going left and right, really becoming evasive, hard to kill, because your overall damage rate and cooldowns will be increased as long as you make it so you don't get killed, because you're still just as capable of getting one-tapped. You're going to be able to output so much more value over the course of the ultimate that you'll probably win the fight, but movement is important, so just go back and forth and around in your ultimate, making yourself very difficult to kill. Now, the last tip I'll give you about this ultimate is that communication is key. You really want to talk with your team about what you plan to do with this ult before you throw it out. Because if you have the idea that you could maybe turn the tables on a lost team fight and get a kill, and your team are like, I'm gonna run away, that is completely split. You need to be communicating and talking when you're investing this ultimate, or else you're gonna be on the completely wrong page as your team, and it's not gonna work as intended, and you're gonna waste this ultimate way too much. Next up, we got to talk about Hanzo's Dragon Strike. And there are 3 primary ways in which you should use this Dragon Strike, and really only these 3. The first one is to combo, and that's the simplest one. You combo with an ultimate. If there's a grab, you combo with the Dragon Strike. Clean, consistent, should be done as many times as possible, and is guaranteed value every single time. As long as the Zarya hits her grab and you hit your dragon, very simple stuff, you're gonna get value out of it. So this is the number one suggestion. The second suggestion is to use it to get a pick. If you know where an enemy is, if you know they're clumped up in a close corridor, getting a kill, just trading one Dragon Strike that you're going to build up quite fast for a single kill is enough to invest the ultimate. Especially because good Hanzos are going to get Dragon Strike at a 2-to-1 rate compared to Zarya's grab. And then the last thing is space creation. Now, this one's a little bit more obscure, but let me give you some examples. Let's say your team is going in and you want to split off the supports from the rest of the team. You can use your Dragon Strike in the middle to force the enemy team to split, making them easier prey. Let's say you have to contest the point at the very end, but it's very hard for you to do so. The enemy are about to capture, and you don't have a lot of tank health in order to go and contest that point. A Dragon Strike can force enemies off it, giving you some breathing room and generating that space. And this also applies to using your ultimate into a crowd to force enemies to move and displace them. But it's important to understand that the third option should only be used if you think that the generation of space, forcing enemies to move, back away, and kind of veer off the gas and the pressure is something that you and your team can take advantage of. If you're not going to take advantage of that, then you shouldn't be investing Hanzo Dragon Strike. Otherwise, you could have just saved it for combo or pick and got some more guaranteed value. Next up, we do got to talk about Roadhog's Whole Hog. And the number one mistake that you make with Whole Hog is getting way too greedy with it. Remember, you are going to be pushing enemies really far away, and if you're trying to do it against a lot of people, not only are they going to push far away from you, so you're not going to kill them that fast, they're all going to be looking at you and wanting to shoot you. So even though now you can still get stunned and you can still heal, even if you're using your Whole Hog, it is important that you try to get the maximum amount of value with it. And you might be asking, how do I ensure that to happen? Isolate your targets with Whole Hog. Try to focus just one or two people. If they're close range in a close corridor, use the Whole Hog when they're low on abilities and just solo ult them. This is a fantastic thing to do up against Zaryas, for instance, up against Hammonds, even Doomfist, Winston's. A lot of these characters, you can hook them and force them into a corridor or a cubby and solo ult them, and then use the rest of the Whole Hog to get some additional value. But being able to trade this ultimate, especially because you generate it so quickly, for guaranteed value is far better than getting greedy with it and maybe getting no freaking value. On top of that, realize sometimes you just gotta completely dip from this ultimate. You just gotta not use it. If you see a situation and then something changes and it's not gonna work out, it's better to just walk away, heal up, and stay alive rather than commit to something that is just not gonna work out at all. Just bail out of the ultimate completely. Now, if you're liking the content, please smash that like and subscribe, and let me know down below what video guides you want to see next. Now, next up on the list, we gotta talk about Cassidy. Now, I understand that High Noon is flashy and it's sick to go for the dream scenario of getting 5 people with High Noon, but the reality of the situation is that's not gonna happen very often. You want to try to get more consistent value with this ultimate. Instead of going all game trying to get that god tier 5-man High Noon, you instead want to get consistent 1 to 2 kills with this, because that's going to win you more team fights and it's going to win you more games. Now, the first time that you could use High Noon is when enemies are adequately distracted. There's a lot of situations where this could be the case, whether your Doomfist is flying in, whether they're all trying to peel and dive your team. You could actually High Noon them because they already invested all their resources into trying to kill your team. Finding key moments where enemies are distracted and that distraction will turn into 1 or 2 kills, and I want you to guarantee those 1 or 2 kills. Don't get too greedy trying to go for all of them. That's a way to get some good consistent value, but it is hard to see and it can be difficult to set up. Plus, you don't always get to set it up yourself. You need some sort of team interaction. Next up, of course, you can combo. Combo with ultimates like grab. Combo with different types of abilities, especially even shields like a Sigma shield or a Baptiste immortality field. These are things you can combo with to ensure that you will not die and get focused down, and any enemies that try to focus you down thinking you'll be easy prey only to get blindsided will probably die to your ultimate as well. Now, another way that you can use your ultimate is when enemies are forced to contest a point and they have no choice. You basically use your high noon to put them into the ultimate, no pun intended, rock and a hard place, because they have to come and contest, right? They're about to lose, they have to contest, but they also have to simultaneously position around your high noon, which the majority of the time just means that they can't touch and deal with you at the same time, and you're going to be able to get some value out of that. And then last up, realize that you can use this ultimate to reload if you need to. If you're in a situation where you're popping and you just need a little bit more ammo, feel free to just activate it, cancel it, and get that reload. Or if you think you're going to die mid-high noon, just cancel it and walk away. There is no point in trying to stick or commit to something when you know you're not going to get it off and you're just going to die for free. Now, the next character that we got to talk about in this video is none other than Ana. Now, Ana's nano boost is an interesting one because there's several different ways to do it, and it also is very flexible of an ultimate. Very similar to Kiriko's ultimate, where it could be used as a tempo play to turn a lost team fight or potentially bail a teammate out of danger. Now, the most consistent and reliable way to use your nano is to combo it. I know that I'm saying this a lot, but surprise, surprise, comboing ultimates is far more consistent than using them individually and take far less individual mechanical skill to pull off. That means there's more inherent value and there's less likely that combos will fail as opposed to individuals that need much more optimal situations for them to properly pull off. Now, going back to the nano, if you're going to combo it, I would suggest committing to the combo, whether it's a nano blade, a nano reaper. Trying to rinse and repeat this every single time is a great way to get consistent value, but I want you to take note about how your DPS that you're comboing with are performing with the nano ultimate. Remember, I said it has a lot of intrinsic value and it should be guaranteed in some capacity, but if they are just getting rolled and dying and not getting any value out of your nano combo, then it might be better for you to use this far more tempo-y, nano your tanks, nano people for tempo, rather than trying to set up this ult combo, investing so much into it when you're not confident that your teammate will do their part to get the value out of it. Now, I did say that you could use this as a tempo play, and I think it's fantastic to shift the momentum of a fight. Let's say your tank is getting bullied by their tank and he's about to die. Nanoing and grenading your tank and maybe even nading the enemy tank just completely shifts the momentum. The enemy is overextending, thinking they're going to get that kill, only for your teammate to get supercharged and they're going to get a kill and you're going to roll that down. Another thing you could do is nano sometimes your other support. If they're getting dove and you can keep them alive while the enemy's overextended and all of a sudden they're supercharged, they're super powerful, you together with them can turn that fight and kill divers. Another great thing you could do to kind of snowball your momentum is, let's say you get an initial pick and you want to close the fight out as quickly as possible. Investing that nano into someone, especially a teammate that doesn't already have their ultimate, will let them go crazy and snowball the fight, guarantee its victory, and they'll build ultimate in the process. So it's a win-win, and you're going to build up your ultimate at least halfway by the end of that fight if you started that fight off using it. Now, the last, but certainly not least character that we got to talk about is Zarya and her ultimate Graviton Surge. Now, it's going to be very similar to where we talked about Roadhog's ultimate, which is the greed factor. Zarya wants to grab small groups for guaranteed value if certain set conditions are not met. And what are those set conditions? Defensive ultimates and ways in which they can mitigate damage. If the enemies have a ton of way to mitigate damage, they have shields and maybe like Kiriko hypothetically, or double bubbles from Zarya, whatever the case may be, trying to grab a large group is going to be difficult to pull off. And even more so if they have a defensive ult. If you're going to grab a large group and they have a lot of mitigation, it's better to grab when you have a combo set, like a Hanzo's Dragon Strike, for instance. That will ensure that regardless of their mitigation tactics, you will get a lot of damage and kills in. However, that's not the case if they do have defensive ultimates. If they have defensive ultimates, oftentimes small grabs that will either get kills or force out an enemy defensive ultimate is better, because then you bait out the ultimate 1-for-1, and your teammates can use their ultimate to finish off the fight. On top of that, if you use a small grab that gets guaranteed 1 to 2 kills, the enemy are going to be put in a hard situation where now they can no longer invest that defensive ultimate, because even if they do, with the huge numbers advantage, they're probably going to lose the fight anyways. Now, on top of that, it's very important for you to understand the power of ulting defensively. There's a number of different characters in this game that you can completely shut down their combos if you grab defensively. And to name a couple of them, characters like Genji, when he goes in for a Nano Blade, it can be a great way to use one ultimate to completely stop him from moving and get a free kill on him when the enemy invested 2. You get the pick, your entire team's alive, and your enemies have no ultimates to spare. You're going to win that matchup completely, but it's very important that you're careful, of course, not to get it reflected, and the timing needs to be proper. But also remember that you can grab on ceilings and walls. You don't have to grab linearly or directly at the enemy to pull off these massive grabs. Now, these are the 7 big characters that I think their ultimates are used wrong, but there's a lot more. So if you have a tip for anyone in the community, definitely let them know down below. Hop in our Discord, links in the description if you want to get involved in some future content videos. And thank you so much for coming by. Smash the like, subscribe, and I'll see you next time.